Good morning, sunshines. Well, for whenever. Better. Okay, so I've learned something about myself through this whole ordeal. I certainly don't spend a lot of time looking at myself in the mirror. And this has been way outside of my comfort zone. But that's okay. Today's gospel is one of my favorite gospels, and you all know it. It's the road to Emmaus. And it's complicated because there's so many different ways to take this analyzation of the road to Emmaus. It's every bit as thought-provoking and interesting as the book of Genesis, where God creates life, and how so much of everything that we believe is rooted so deeply in Genesis. And this road to Emmaus is tied so directly into that for so many different reasons that, I was like debating on which way to take it. So I decided I would take it in a way that is going to give you a thought-provoking decision on atheism and the way people are walking away from our church. Walking away from Jesus Christ. They have forgotten that we have received this wild gift of love and mercy from Jesus, right? And so as you read, there is this couple of people, a lot of people debate that it could be Clopas and his wife, but they're walking away from Jerusalem. Now, Jerusalem is the hub. Jerusalem is the hub of the Israelite faith. I mean, Jesus was always going to Jerusalem. He was always battling the Pharisees and the Sadducees in Jerusalem because that is the spiritual hub. And these people, after his death, are walking away, all right? Walking away. And as they're walking away, Jesus appears to them and they don't recognize Jesus. And what does Jesus do? Jesus begins to talk to them and listen. He listens. He says, he gives this great question. What are you talking about? And so they begin to regale the tale of Jesus, who they were hoping would be the Christ and redeem Israel, but he was murdered. And once they, Jesus listens to them, he like, very, very, very bluntly, he says, "You fools, don't you know it had to be this way?" So then he goes through the entire Bible on this walk with them, okay? He starts at the beginning, all right? And he ties it all the way up until the crucifixion. And after that, he's about to leave and go on his journey, but they invite him into his home and he sits with them and he breaks bread and their eyes are opened. So beautiful. How can we take this? A lot of us know about Jesus. It's really hard in today's day to sit there and claim atheism and claim not to know Jesus. It's, to me, atheism is just this like kind of stubborn, willing to dismiss the idea that something greater than us can exist. Atheism is very prideful because it's sitting there saying that science has all the answers when science clearly doesn't have all the answers. All you need to do is go and get a science textbook from 10 years ago and you will see how outdated it is. Now go back 50 years and you will think it's archaic. Science is ever growing. And that is why philosophy is a science, because it's that challenge of thinking. In very many ways, science is a philosophy that you put to the test and you practice. So this atheism, this walking away from Jesus, just because you don't want to believe, is more like a stubborn pridefulness. Just like these people, they were like, we hoped he would be the one. And then what do? Rather than stick around and see how things unfold after they've heard the story of women say that, hey, the tomb is empty, they just decide to turn their backs on him and walk away. How many of us just stubbornly walk away? I'm not going to believe the church when they say this because it goes against, what everybody else believes, and I don't feel like being an outcast. How many of us get caught up in this atheism or this pick and choose what you want just because it's convenient? And all of it comes from a lack of knowledge. Because when Jesus appears to them, because Jesus is going to walk with us. He's going to walk with us if we're walking towards him, and he's going to walk with us as if we're walking away. Christ comes for a relationship. We are his relationship. So he's walking with us, whether we like it or not. And he asks them. He doesn't pound them. He doesn't start immediately lecturing them. He invites them into, what do you know about things that have happened, to kind of get a good idea of where they are. And when he's done with them, then he calls them fool. And what does he do? He teaches. Because all of the answers that we have are in the Bible. Now, again, the Bible is read in many different ways. You've got to really, ethically, you need to do a Bible study. You seriously need a Bible study. And there are a million different types of Bible studies. But there is also the Bible study that takes you all the way back, because everything written in the Old Testament needs to be read as if you're looking at Jesus Christ, because it is the preparation for Jesus. So he goes and he takes them through the entirety of the Bible, and they are eating it up. They are consumed with it. Why? Because there is something about the truth that is delicious. You see, but the problem with atheists is they always come up against stupid people. People who don't know the Bible. People who are like, God is real because I feel him. God is real because, he's God, No. You have to enter into intelligent evangelization, knowing your Bible, and being able to connect that Bible into our world. So infatuated are they, right? That they invite him to stay. And then what does he do? He breaks bread. He has a mass. Our high priest has a mass. And as soon as they meet him in that broken bread, their eyes are open. And he disappears. And they were like, wow, this is where my heart longs to be, right here at this mass. Because Jesus was with us only when he broke bread. So they run back to Jerusalem. They run back to the spiritual center of their lives. They're holy and whole once again. They've stopped running away and they ran back. And they themselves become the teachers. Wow. In the first reading, Peter, the quintessential runner of faith, has stopped running. He has started taking the responsibility of being that first pope, though he probably didn't call himself a pope, probably didn't know what that word meant, but we now know. We assigned a name to it because it had to be something. He stopped running. So he's going into prayer and he sees this poor man laying there, begging for money. And Peter quite rightly says, I don't have silver and gold, but I have this knowledge of something better. And he heals him. And the man gets up and he goes into mass and he's praising the Lord. We're brats. We're brats. We want everything our way. We want everything our way right now. And not only that, we don't want to be inconvenienced. This man got up and walked, and now he has to go get a job. Now he has to save himself. He can't just beg anymore. He's got to rely on himself, and he's thrilled. He's happy. He's dancing. We hear about the good news of God, that God came to resurrect us, and we have to use our gifts and talents for him in order to help other people on the road to Emmaus to see the light, to stop walking away from him and start walking towards him. And what do? We don't use him. We're running. We're running away from the spiritual center of our life, which is the Mass, which is the communion, our Eucharist, which is education and formation, which is knowledge of the Bible. The Bible is awesome. It will blow your mind. We're running away because it's just inconvenient. I'll just step over that poor beggar man. I won't bother to use the gifts and talents that God gave me. Like some of us are healers, others of us are teachers, some are prophets, some speak in tongues. God gave each of us the gifts that this world needs now, today, in this day and age, which are different than what they needed 50 years ago and are different than what they needed 1,000 years ago. Like, we keep looking at history going, oh, the church kept screwing up. No, that was a different time. The gifts that we have now as broken, imperfect people that tend to run are the gifts that we need to save the world. And our biggest problem is we're walking away from our church. And God is walking with us. So what can you do? Well, for one thing, get into a Bible study. If I would do a Bible study. I am fine even to do a virtual Bible study like this, even when we get back, because I think it's good. But you have to do the homework. Like so many times you don't even get on here, you don't listen, you don't apply, you're not putting the effort in, and you expect me to do it all. No. No. There's got to be some homework on your part. There's got to be some homework. If people are leaving the church left and right, you have to step up and start sacrificing yourself and dying to yourself and becoming more like Peter and stop running away and accept that what is in our monstrance and our tabernacle is Jesus, the breaking of the bread. Our eyes are open, and you have to become what he wants you to be. And when are you going to figure that out? You'll never figure it out if you don't start studying. Okay? How do you know what you're going to be when you grow up? You study, you figure out what it is you're good at, and you go with it. Bible study. Connecting the dots from Genesis to Revelation so that you have a full picture of why the church does what it does. Number 2, walk with people. Don't judge them. Question them. Why do you feel like that? What is it about the church that you don't like? What is it about the mass that you find boring? Jot these things down and go back to study. Walk with these people. Let them be heard. Then when you have a solid answer, you don't have the right to call them fool. You go back and you enter into debate. Allow them to speak, be civil, connect those dots back and forth. And finally, go to Mass. When this is over, go to daily Mass if you can. If it's the summer, go every day with your friends. If you got a car, pick them up. Because in Mass, that's where you see them. That's where that relationship is connected. And that is what the scripture is teaching us today. Peter is telling us we have gifts, and we need to use them for these people who are walking away from Jesus. Right? Love you guys. If you're interested in a Bible study, let me know. But if you are interested in a Bible study, I expect you to make time and be present.